Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the ORIGIN M50, a interdiction forward stroke racing ship, and it is a very fast, cool looking, nimble ship, and it also has some interesting lore behind it. So we will briefly touch on some of the lore that comes with this ship, and then we'll go over some of the details and discuss how it looks and things I really enjoy about the M50. In 2918, the final concept of the M50 was completed by the Origin junior designer Alberto Vara and engineer Yarvo Croy. Before its reveal, the prototype and Y series test ships are plagued with difficulties. Repurposed for the 890 jump, the 85X, originally model XVB, went through rigorous tests along other cutting-edge speedsters to find the model that would ultimately become the M50. In 2920, the first of the M50 were unveiled at the Imperial Engineering Expo in Prime. Constructed as a spiritual successor to Origin's legendary export, the first M50 was an attempt to reclaim Origin's dominance on the racetrack. The public's interest in their ship flagged, causing a slow and steady decline in sales. In 2923, the M50 wins its first Murray Cup in the hands of the former Origin test pilot Caleb Arlo. The victory establishes the M50 as a dynamic and versatile speed machine. In 2936, the UEE advocacy secretly met with the ship manufacturers and presented their parameters for an ideal interdiction ship. To surprise of many, Origin Jumpwort's pitch of the M50 seemed to satisfy all requirements. The commission worked closely with Origin on minor tweaks before bulk buying a shipment for their new elite unit, the Bronson's Bolt. In 2938, the advocacy purchased a bulk of these races to convert into interdiction ships. This modified version of the M50 wasn't the fastest or the most powerful ship proposed to the advocacy. It balanced both better than the alternatives with the right loadout. These custom models became notorious among outlaw packs, several of whom had opened bounties available for anyone who would risk the wrath of the advocacy by destroying one. In 2945, as the M50's 25th anniversary approached, the ship was redesigned with more than 600 modifications. The details about the advocacy modifications to the M50 remain classified. And though a few of those ships have fallen into the hands of outlaws, no one other than the deputized by the advocacy has been able to replicate the changes on the standard M50. So there we go, there's some of the lore. I actually like the idea that the UEE were like, well, we need to have some of these as interdictors because, you know, they are pretty quick, very maneuverable, and, you know, might come in useful. And so the contract happened, and this is what we have, the M50. Looking at it then, it is awesome to look at. It took a while for me to sort of warm up to the paint scheme of it, but what I really enjoy about the ship and the way it looks is that sort of aggressive spoiler, and those engines are ridiculous. This ship, obviously, is very, very quick, and those engines certainly help. Very small, nimble, versatile. There was a time in the game where this was very much a go-to fighter for, you know, the accomplished pilots in Star Citizen. You would often see people dogfighting in the M50 because it was an absolute animal. I don't think it's quite the same anymore, and with master modes coming in, there's going to be obviously numerous sweeps and changes and balance changes. You know, we're in the infancy of master modes. There's a long way to go. So I haven't done any combat in this ship. I've just flown it around as a daily driver, bunker to bunker, when I occasionally do the bunker missions, because it's just so quick and rapid. It's a very time effective way of getting around the verse. So I can't speak for it combat-wise, but I can only speak on what I've seen in the past. So it is a potent little ship, and it makes sense as to why the UEE advocacy were very keen to get their hands on some of these. So obviously manufactured by Origin. I am a fan of the Origin ships. I think they bring us a level of class to some of the manufacturers that we have in game. I am starting to wane a little bit from their digital MFDs. There is a rework coming for MFDs, which I think is going to be extremely useful. So we will just have to see what the interiors of most of these ships are going to look at. But for aesthetically, it looks beefy. You can see the engine decks and then those large engines at the back. They just look amazing, absolutely amazing. So it's yeah, it's a pocket rocket. How does it compare then to the Mirai Razor, which is kind of in a competition with this? I guess for me personally, I mean, I love the Razor. I do. I think it looks sleek, it looks venomous, it's so quick. If you want to see it, I've got a video on the channel. But the M50, it kind of looks like someone strapped an F-15 to a Cessna. You know what I mean? Like, here's all the engines in the world and all the power you could possibly need, and we're just going to throw it on this tiny little single engine airframe. You know, that's the kind of vibe I get, and I like it. And as you can see, the acceleration here is mind-boggling. So mind-boggling that you black out. So acceleration is a non-issue. That's pretty cool. But I am not a fan of the digital MFDs anymore. They just don't work. Give us hardbacks. And this is another excellent area of the ship. Looking at those gargantuan power plants in there, it screams muscle car in space, right? It's a very, very nice thing to see those powerful engines in the back. It just looks incredible. The cockpit then, very sort of standard stuff. We have a HOTAS with the actual flight stick on the right, throttle on the left, and 4 MFDs. I just wish we had nice, posh, hardback MFDs in like the typical Origin white. I used to think the digital displays were cool. Now they're kind of waning on me a bit. I'm starting to lose. They just don't, excuse the pun, but they don't sit right with me anymore. So I'm hoping with the MFD rework, all of these Origin ships, just give them hardback MFDs. It'll just be better. It will be better. So who is this ship for then? Well, obviously, it's a notorious racer. If you're into racing, then you're more than likely going to want an M50. They're relatively cheap in-game. I can't remember the cost of them, unfortunately. But they are relatively cheap in-game and relatively cheap on the website, I believe. I haven't checked. But if you're a racer that wants to do a little bit of combat, then the M50 is definitely something you should look at because, okay, the components aren't all that. You know, it's not a tank. You're not going to take too much damage at all, but what you are going to do is literally run rings around people, and if you can't do that, like I said, I haven't tested it in master modes at all, so it might be a completely different ship now, but from how it is and what it's supposed to do, I would have thought being a racer and being fast, you have opportunities to possibly run rings around your opponents or escape. It can also be used as a very, very effective recon ship. All of that good sort of reconnaissance role, data gathering with your Mark 1 eyeballs. It doesn't have any scanners, but it doesn't mean you could zip this ship into some sort of hostile area and gather intel and get the hell out. I believe the agents were using this ship from the AUEC at some point to zip around. I'm not sure. I don't think that's... It might have been a different ship, so don't hold me to gunpoint with that one. I'm just delving into the mind brain, and that could be a thing. Weapons then, it has changed loadout since these shots were taken. The only thing that's changed is these cannons have been swapped out for Badgers, but you do get the 2 size 1 missiles, as you can see here. Enough to do a little bit of damage and then get the hell out, and you will easily get away from anything unless you're actually being pursued by someone in a Razor. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? So speed and agility, they're your friends, and it is a very simplistic ship. You know, it's essentially some engines with avionics and a couple of guns strapped on the side of it, but it was a prolific dogfighter, and obviously its heritage is racing, so the pedigree for this ship is still pretty impressive, I think. Now, there are other racers out there, of course, but I think that the M50 just about gets it in the win for how it looks, right? I mean, the 350R from Origin is also pretty sleek daddy. Then you've got the Razors, which are really cool, and then finally we have, I don't know, I think the Mustang Gamma is also a very good looking ship, but there's something about the M50 that looks poignant, potent, venomous, quick, nimble, and extremely powerful because of its illustrious engines. Right, let's take a look then at the stock components you will find on an Origin M50. Okay guys, here we are on our trusty DPS calculator, and as you can see, it's actually now equipped with badges and not the cannons that we've been staring at for the last few clips. So the M4As have gone and been replaced by the badges. I think that's an improvement. The cannons are great, but for a ship that's as nimble and maneuverable and quick as this, I think having a high fire rate trumps cannons. You know, I think that is the way to go for this ship. Apart from that, everything else remains the same component wise. So we have the 2 size 2s, and then we have the 2 size 1 marksman missiles, which of course you can swap out any of these weapons to suit your particular need. The components, we have 2 size 1 shields, which are the Targas. Then we have the power plant, which is the Luma core, which is also size 1. 2 size 1 coolers, and then a light fire drive, which is a very, very good drive stock. So obviously it's a competition drive, being a racing ship. That's a great drive. You don't really need to change that. You're still going to be able to get in and around most places of the verse without any issues. Just travel time will be your deciding factor on what drive you throw in there. So yeah, not too much has changed. Right, let's take a walk around of this ship then. So here we are. Now, I like to do this because it's a great sense of scale. We're at Arc Core, on top of a roof, on the various landing pads on multiple roofs in and around Area 18. And it is a very, very... it's just so cool. Depending on what the angles are you're looking at on this ship, I really enjoy the Origin M50. It's great. And like I said, it is definitely those engines that help suck you into liking this, because when you're flying this ship and you hit F4 and all you can see are these giant F15 Eagle engines, as I'm going to keep referring, because it just reminds me so much of the F15, it's unreal. Those giant F15 engines, it really appeals to sort of the motorhead in me, you know. As a sim racer, faster is better, okay, that's fact. And those 2 engines definitely help. I also really like the detail they went on, that's been put into the landing gear of this ship. Basic but really cool looking. Like the tyre modelling on the Origin M50 is pretty superb. So yeah, the M50 itself is a great rapid ship. So who is this for? Well, like I said, it's for people that really enjoy racing, although there are other options available to you when it comes to racing. Interdiction wise, I'd like to think of this as like a swarm of hornets in some respects, right? Because I can imagine a few of the larger ships equipped with a couple, 3, 4, 5 of these in are going to cause problems. They definitely will cause problems because they are very quick, maneuverable, you know, and sometimes that trumps being slow and extra armoured and punchy shields. So it will be interesting to see a swarm of these come out of a larger vessel. Right, let's begin our walk around then. So we're on the port side of the ship now. We have M50 racing logos everywhere, which is always nice. It's almost like it's been sponsored, so it really does give it that racing feel. As I said, the livery itself, the paint scheme, took me a while to warm up to, but in this light that we have currently now, I think it really does suit the ship. So we have the weapon systems underneath each wing. We have 2 hard points, and then of course the missiles just stung on there. And then, I mean, look at them. What more do you want me to say? They're massive for a ship of this size. It looks incredible. So the rear of the ship has like a rear spoiler tail design moving around to the starboard side. Again, it's symmetrical with M50 nice and bright down the back and tail end of the ship. We have a couple of landing lights on the wingtips of the ship itself. Tricycle landing gear, of course. Yeah, fantastic components here, there, and everywhere. couple of panels, one entry point into the ship. Obviously, you can only go by yourself. But yeah, and I really like those sort of canards at the front, which should improve planet atmospheric performance. So very cool ship. Let's get in it now so we can have a look at the cockpit. Now again, this was all taken. I'm clearing a backlog of recordings I've got to get through, guys. I'm getting there. So, sorry it's late, but it is before the new UI. The ship itself obviously hasn't changed, but it's the old UI. There's no UI in here, so apologies for that. But I'm not going to throw away good clips just simply because of a new UI that's been implemented. To be honest, the old one is much cleaner compared to the new UI. That needs tidying up, something chronic. Anyway, in the cockpit then, HOTAS system, digital MFDs. I'm not going to keep going on about it. The two ones at the bottom, as you can see where the buttons are here, they're hardbacks. That's fine. It's these digital floating ones. I just think get rid of them, give them a hardback, then we're good. But the visibility, obviously, you're going to need it, and it is excellent for racing. Obviously, seeing where you can go is very important. Visibility behind isn't brilliant. There isn't really a ship out there that has excellent visibility from behind, but it's very snug. You feel very cozy in here. The way the cockpit wraps around you, it's a good sense of security. So there are pluses. It's apart from the floating MFDs, I think is great. The radar is non-existent. That needs just fixing, okay? And it's still like that now. So a little bit disappointing there, but overall, rapid ship, really cool, really fast, and if you like racing and interdicting people, this is definitely an option for you. So there we go, guys. That was my video on the Origin M50. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what buttons to press, and I, of course, will have more Star Citizen content en route to your location soon. Thanks, guys. Cheers.